Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Interviewing Wednesdays. We're doing our special guest interviewing speaker series during the month of November and December. Today is December 9th. We're very, very glad that you are with us. For those people who are on Zoom, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just enter them into the chat box. And for those people on Facebook watching right now, please just enter your questions into the comment field. I am monitoring that feed and I will make sure we get those questions answered. For those on Zoom, we ask that you use the speaker view, which is in the lower left-hand corner. That way you can adjust the size of the speaker and the PowerPoint presentation. You can take that little, where that red arrow is, grab those white lines, and you can slide that back and forth to change whatever angle you want if you're on a PC or on a Mac. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, if you post a comment in the chat box or have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your comment's name and picture to appear. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. I founded Career DFW back in 2008 to help the unemployed in the DFW area. In 2012, I started CareerUSA.org to help people outside the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I've written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. You can get it on Amazon for 15 bucks, or if you want to drive by the house, throw 10 bucks out the window. I will attempt to throw a book into your window, so drive slow if you drive by. And since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. They've been around since the late 1990s, and at the end of this session, I will tell you about our upcoming program this Friday. And since 2017, I've been a member of the Practice Interview Team. Mark, you want to tell us a little bit about the Practice Interview Team?
All right, good afternoon, everybody, and it's a beautiful day. I got a problem though, the pit crew has not been very busy this week. I just recruited a bunch of new hiring managers to help out, and they're very eager to help people practice their interviewing. So please, 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 if you probably need to practice. I have pretty good insight that you could do better in your interviews if you practice. So just send me an email and I'll tell you how to get involved. Okay, and I'm not going to talk about it a lot today. You know, we get practice interviews. You know, it can be a little stressful to come and hear the mistakes you made, but it's much better to hear that in a safe and supportive environment. And all of our interviewers are hiring managers. They've all done this professionally. They have some great insight into how you could do better. And sometimes every now and then we get a candidate who is outstanding, and that may be you as well. And then we just put a little more polish on what they're going to say for a specific interview. So here's how the pit crew can help you. And last week I talked about, we had a couple of people on the pit who came to the pit crew who had a lot of experience, and they were getting opportunities. They were in relatively popular areas, you know, even during COVID, but they weren't able to close the deal. So that we helped those people. This week, I've had one candidate this week who is trying to change fields. Been a school teacher and is now trying to go into kind of corporate training and development. And so that's another way the pit crew can help you, is to help you understand how you approach that type of interview when you don't have a lot of direct experience in your background. As a matter of fact, as part of this Wednesday interview series, when we start up a new session next on January 6th, we'll start a new series of 13. We're going to include a topic specifically on how to prepare differently and what to focus on if you're thinking about changing career area. So that's another way the pit crew can help you. So reach out to me at dallaspitcrew@gmail.com. I'll send you an email back with kind of all the particulars of how you get involved, and link in with me, please. Also send me a note though. Let me know where we met. And I'm getting quite a few requests from people who don't identify where I met them, and you know, I don't know what to do with those. I'm not inclined to really accept them, but if you know, especially if you're out of town, there's no way we could have met, you know, in the old days. But let me know where we met, and that's all I require. and I'll add you to my network. And of course, that'll help you out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, especially where I have a pretty large network. I also coach a little, besides joining the pit crew, I coach a little bit on one topic, and that topic is, why did you leave your last job? So there's 4 questions you want to do really well on, and come listen to the pit crew webinar, and I'll tell you what the other 3 are. But one of them is, why did you leave your last job? Why did you leave your last position? Sometimes it may even be, I see, in 3 years you had 4 jobs. What was that about? So I can help you tell that story in a very positive way, a very brief way, very confident way. But we're going to have a conversation to go over the specific details around your situation. So again, reach out to me by email. We'll set up a phone call or a Zoom call and get you ready to answer those questions and any follow-up questions that may be generated as a result of your situation. So that's my coaching, and link in with me and pit crew. Like I said, I got some capacity here. It takes a couple of days to set them up, so send in your information and we'll go. Thanks, Jeff.
Mark, thank you very, very much. The Interview Success Workshop.
Good afternoon, everyone. Walt Glass here. I enjoy helping people gain the skills and knowledge for successful hiring.
Walt, you muted yourself.
Sometimes you hit a button, you do something, and your mute comes on, and I didn't do that. So I'm blaming Zoom for that one. Anyway, I enjoy helping people gain confidence and skills for successful hiring interviews. And I do that through a very informal workshop on interviewing, where we look at the fundamentals of differentiation and how do we sell the 3 pillars of an interview, which is selling who you are, what you do, and how you can help them. You have to be registered to attend. My LinkedIn About section contains a lot of information about the workshop and details, also how to register so that you can attend. I have 1 slot open next Tuesday from 10 to 12 before the end of the year. So if you'd like to take advantage of that, I do a first come, first served. Love to have you come, love to have you participate. It's very informal. We have a good time. I call it learning without squirming.
Great, thank you very, very much. All right, well, today well, you just heard from our speaker. Today, Walt Glass is going to talk about distinctive interviewing. Hopefully most of you know who Walt Glass is. Walt's been doing the Interview Success Workshop for 4 or 5 years now, since he retired. He's part of the practice interview team. He'll come and conduct interviews, and he's helped put on these workshops that we've done since March, when we got started with all this, March, April. This was the first session that we sort of started as COVID hit and we couldn't get out of the house anymore. So Walt, thank you for being with us, and it's all yours.
All right, we're in business. Well, let's talk about distinctive interviewing. What does that really mean? How can we differentiate ourselves from those other candidates? Agree, disagree? Let me see some nods out there. Okay, what I'm saying is that, yep, things have changed quite a bit, and it doesn't take many years or many months now for things to change. I mean, look at COVID, and here we are this year, and now we're all online. A lot of changes going on. As I mentioned, if you've heard this presentation or seen this before, one person said it depends on the child. I wonder how many of you can get further than 6 feet away from your phone today. If you lose your phone, are you going to shoot yourself? I mean, what's it like? 1998, he said, don't ever get into a car with a stranger. That's not very wise. And in 2008, we said, don't meet people from the internet alone. That's just not very wise either. That's not good to do. So in 2019, Uber comes along and we order a stranger from the internet to get into the car alone. Today, it's all Zoom or some sort of online interviewing. I think it'll continue to grow. It helps a lot, particularly when they can record these things and have people look at them later, that sort of thing. So the face-to-face will be, I still think we'll have some, but I still think that Zoom and those kind of software will come more prevalent as we go down the road. So how can we positively differentiate ourselves from other candidates? And so I call it distinctive. We want to be distinctive, stand out from the other candidates. So I'd like you to listen today to my opinions and suggestions, because the whole job search world is one of opinion, and I have my opinions too. But I'd like you to consider these suggestions and ideas from the interviewer's perspective. So if I approached it this manner or this particular way or with this particular idea, how would that appear in the interviewer's mind? Because one of the distinctive parameters is in their frame of reference, which we'll talk about. So what are we selling? Well, I ask this question a lot. 99.99% of the time, the answer is ourselves. Then I say, okay, if that's what ourselves are, how do you define that? Just exactly what is it? And so we're selling our soft skills and characteristics. It's called culture fit, personality fit. Do I like you? The likability factor. Are you the kind of person I like to work with? I would enjoy having around here, that sort of thing. And so that's the soft skills, and they override just about everything else. And so I just kind of synthesize that down to I am. And then they look at our experience and hard skills. What kind of activities have you done? What kind of hard skills do you do? You're required to meet some of those types of things and have that type of experience and that kind of maybe technical background. So I call that the I do side. And then there's solutions to their problems. They don't hire us to do what we do. I mean, they do, but that's only part of it, because the real reason they hire us is because they have some issues and problems, and we need to help solve those things. And so how do we sell that we are the solution, the things that we do, that in order to help them? Okay, just finally I'm out. I know that that's not sounding coming through. So.
Harvard actually, and I started my new job on Monday. So obviously on Sunday night I wanted to go out with my friends and celebrate. It was a late night, so Monday morning, first day, I rolled in around 10:30, set up my desk, and my boss, my white male boss, had the audacity to come up to me and say, "Where have you been?" Where have I been? Well, I've been celebrating, and I've been partying, and then I've been sleeping, and I've been resting, because you know what? This is a stressful time. And you know what? I feel a little bit pressured and a little bit endangered right now. I do not feel safe, so I'll just leave and come back when you change your tune, Mr. White Male Boss. And you know what he said to me? He said, "You can pack up your stuff and go." And I said, "What did you just say to me? I can pack up my stuff and go? I'm fired just because I was late on my first day to work and because I'm not doing anything? Are you kidding me?" I mean, talk about sexism. This is the white male patriarchy at work right here. Talk about discrimination. So now it's Tuesday. I'm back. I've got my protesting signs in the trunk, and I am going to show them who's boss. And I am going to show them that this millennial generation is not taking that crap from baby boomers and Gen Xers, okay? We are going to do whatever we want to. And if we can't do that, and if we don't feel safe, then we're just going to quit. And that is a real threat. You heard it here first.
Okay, so things have changed. Millennials are about, and who we talk to and who we interview with now can be a very, very different perspective than what we have as far as searching and looking and trying to get hired in a target company for doing the job that we love. So we're going to talk about the top 10 things out of the many things you can do today about being distinctive in an interview. So the first thing is, what can you do to identify the most significant thing in an interview that you do that would positively differentiate yourself from other candidates? And so think of one thing that you can do that will help you be different, and put that into the chat window. Let's see here. Put this into the chat myself. Where's chat? It's pretty interesting how my chat window is not working very well.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll read them for you. So Catherine says star stories. Somebody else said make them laugh, connect with the interviewer, enthusiasm. I don't need a babysitter. Remember their name. That's a good one. Enthusiasm, smile and ask intriguing questions, posture and good questions. Remember people, connect personally, engage the interviewer or panel. Enthusiasm, that's what can I do for them, their company. Think before I answer, lean in and emphasize my tenacious approach, convey a positive attitude and a thank you note.
All right. I finally got it working here, but thank you, Jeff, for helping out with that. So let's see if some of the ones that I come up with match some of the ones that you come up with. And if there's some maybe that you have that I don't include in my list, because there's more than 10. Okay. Let's get going. Prior to the interview, so before we get to the top 10 list, we have to meet a requirement, and that is, what is it that you want to do? What are the things that you like to do that helps a company? What do you like to achieve, both for yourself and for the company, for the department, for the job? If you have this done, the following 10 items are going to be so much easier to accomplish, as opposed to those who say, well, I'm not sure. I'll go interview in this job and see what it's like. That kind of thing. It's going to be hard to do some of these 10 things. Now, that doesn't mean you can't go do that, but to accomplish something, I would really like you to have a target company, one that you really want to work for, and a target job that says, this is the job that energizes me and the reason I go to work every day. That's going to help you quite a bit in moving forward. So Dylan Lauren said, believe in yourself and listen to your gut and do what you love. Anybody know who Dylan Lauren is? Well, she's Ralph Lauren's daughter. So if I pronounce the name a little differently, it would give you a clue. She is the owner, founder of Dylan's Candy Bar in New York City, and she's got over 7,000 candies from around the world. So she found something that she got involved in and loved to do and wanted to achieve. And so, you know, the rent space in New York is not cheap. And so you've got to sell a lot of candy, but she is very successful at doing that. So I'd like to ask you this and bring up a poll. I think I can bring up a poll myself here. Did you bring it up? All right. So here's the questions I want you to answer and say, where are you in your job search? You know, what kind of job, what I want to do? So you don't, you know, anywhere I'm looking for anything. I really don't know yet. I could go just about anywhere. I said, well, I've got a couple of choices. I could do A or I can do B. You know, either one would be okay. I'd like to be in, and here's a particular industry or area or type of job that you would like. You feel about that, and you've got different ones, perhaps. And also, you say, where, let me go back. Is this the same poll? Yeah. Or I know a specific thing. I know a specific job in specific companies where I want to work, and I have that list. So where do you fit?
So if everybody on Zoom will just answer the poll, that would be great. And for those people on Facebook, just go ahead and pick A, B, C, or D and put it in the comment field.
see where we are here. So we've got the vast majority with answer D, almost half, 48% saying, I know the type of job I want. I know whether it's a sales role, accounting, or whatever. So I pretty much identified that this is the role I want. The next question that has got the highest response, about 35%, is saying that I know also not only the job type, uh, the role, but I also have target companies where I want to work. The next one is C. I mean, I've got a couple of choices here. I can do A or B. The first two are tied. One is, I really don't care. I'll find anything would be fine. And then I don't know. I guess I could go just about anywhere. So this really is just telling us the stage of where you are in your job search. And what this really means, if you put titles to this thing, and I don't mean to be negative with titles, but it's just a way of looking at the stages. And if you really don't care, anywhere will do, that you're not really involved very heavily in a job search. You may be posting or looking at posted jobs, hunting that method, just trying to find something of interest. The unclear says, well, I'm not sure what I really want to do yet. I need to make a decision. Whenever we change jobs, it is our opportunity to make a different decision on what do we do next. And so I'm still trying to figure out exactly where I want to go. I could probably go just about anywhere, but I don't have that quite understanding of the target. Well, and I've got a couple of choices. I'm either A or B. I could probably do either one. And I will tell you, if you try to chase both of them, it'll kill you. I mean, it is so hard to chase more than one at a time because you can't be consistent. Your resumes are not consistent because of the different types, the different jobs. Your LinkedIn profile can't represent yourself accurately. It's really tough to do either one of those. And so we'd like to make that decision to move into D, where I'm still a little bit unfocused because I know what I want to do, but I don't know where I want to do it. And then we'd like to move to the focused part where I know what kind of job I want and I know where I want to work. I want to do it. So a lot of you are in that, half of you in that. And I would encourage all of you that are not in the focus part to do what you can do to get to the focus part. Because when you're in that focus part, now you can apply all your energies in the right path and in the right direction to achieve what you want to achieve. So I need a volunteer for a brief activity. I'm going to try out an experiment today, and it'll either bomb or it'll work. So we'll find out. But I need a volunteer. You don't know what you're going to do yet. Just say, yeah, I'll jump in there. I'll play the role. It's not going to be hard. Somebody unmute and say, I'll do it.
Okay, I'm game, Walt.
Okay, Jeff, thank you. So I'm about to interview you for a job. All right, let's greet each other. Hi, Jeff. Walt Glass here. I'm with ABC Company. Welcome to ABC. Glad to have you here to talk about this particular position that we're looking to fill.
Hi, Walt. Jeff Huggins. Say, I'm super excited to be here. I look forward to talking to you today.
Right. Thank you, Jeff. All right, we'll come back to that in a minute. Thank you, Jeff. So a positive attitude enthusiasm is number one. This is the biggest factor. If you do not have this, it's going to hurt you. It's hard to do things without having a positive attitude and enthusiasm and saying, this job energizes me, this company is a place I want to work, okay? So, but you know what? It's not something that you do. I said, okay, I'm looking for this job. Well, I'm going to interview for it. So I'm going to gain a positive attitude about it, and I'm going to be enthusiastic about it. Well, if you have to try, you're in the wrong spot. You don't want to have to try. You want to have that positive attitude and enthusiasm because this is the job you want and the place you want to work. But at the same time, you may have that, but you don't display interest or enthusiasm in doing the job. So let me ask you this. Do you like cats? Now, some of us like cats and some of us don't. Okay. Well, what's the difference? The cat is just a cat. It's nothing that the cat does that says we like it or don't like it. It's our own personal interpretation. Some of us like them, some of them don't. But the cat's still just a cat. So we have a different perspective on things. So looking at the different perspectives is something we're going to talk about today. Did you know that 46% of new hires fail within 18 months? This is according to a hiring for attitude survey. And 41% fail from attitude rather than skills. Jay Fusaro talks about interviewing as one of his topics. And he mentions a lot that the whole reason people are asking, tell me about yourself, is determine your attitude. Can you answer this question concisely, and what's your attitude? What's your attitude? And that's going to be something that makes such a difference in how you speak, how you look, your expressions, what you say, all that sort of thing. It's going to come out much more different than other candidates who are in there going down to the bottom saying, I just hope I can answer these questions. You got to get beyond that. That means preparation is required so that you can get beyond that. So Dale Carnegie says, you know, how successful are you unless you're not having fun? You know, there's people that say, I can't believe they pay me to do this. I enjoy it so much that I really like to do it. I almost feel like I could do it for free, that sort of thing. Having that fun. Is your job fun for you? Do you like going to work? So I want to do another poll. What percent of the hiring decision do you think is made based upon enthusiasm and interest in both two things, the job and the company? If you're the hiring interviewer and you're having a candidate in front of you, where would you place their enthusiasm and interest as part of your hiring decision? Okay, I'm seeing 42% say it's greater than 80%. 33, 71 to 80, 13, 61 to 70, and 13, 50 to 60, and nobody less than 50. So this poll is telling us that as hiring managers, hiring personnel, whatever our role will be in the hiring process, over 50% of the decision to hire somebody is made from their enthusiasm and interest. Now, some of us are kind of laid back. Mark and I have talked about this before. We have actually demonstrating enthusiasm as one of the 13 topics. So if you're not a person that just bubbles over and shows out all that enthusiasm, but you do show interest, and when you show interest, your attitude changes. When you're really interested, it'll have the same effect as being enthusiastic. So interest and enthusiasm is a great deal. And if that's the main thing. So you need to have that kind of attitude when you go in. And when you have that, you will already be over halfway home. Now, isn't that great? All right. So I was out fishing around on the internet some time back, and I found this interview with George Wright, who was the VP of IT operations at USPS. And they were interviewing him about him hiring people. And so here's a couple of quotes that I'm going to mention throughout. One of them is, I assess people by their first impression. So how you look and speak matters. Okay, you only do that first impression once. So how long does it take us? I don't know did I give you this one, Jeff? Okay, I did. Here's a poll. How long does it take us to determine a person's trustworthiness the first time we see them? We meet on Zoom. I see your picture. I see your background. and I'm going to make some sort of decision about trustworthiness. How long do you think it takes? Okay. So I'm going to take a copy of that so I can save that for the future. Okay, results. The highest answer is less than 5 seconds. That's 0 in 1 to 5 seconds, 56%. Next is 6 to 10 seconds, 28, dwindling down to 12 for 11 to 15, and then greater than 15 seconds, about 4%. Well, let's ask about this. I'll come back to this. Let's talk about our greeting. That's going to be our first impression. Take a look at these pictures. Which one stands out to you? Which one attracted you first? Put it in the chat window, please. Well, it looks like Julia Roberts isn't getting too many votes here. Yep, there's a vote for Julia. There's a tie. Okay. Just because I mentioned her name, it seems like we're getting more votes now. Okay, the baby kind of stood out first with a lot of people when I asked this question. When you see that picture of a smiling baby, do you feel better? Does it make you feel good? Who does not like a smile on a baby? And I mean, and you get a good feeling from it. You get a positive feeling from it, and you smile right back. Okay, smiling. So just smiling alone. Now, if somebody says, Walt, I'm taking your picture, smile, this is what I do. I go, I mean, I can't smile and try to smile. You smile from within. It's from within you. It's something you will do naturally, not just, I don't think I'll smile right now. But I can tell you this, if you're feeling bad, smile. It'll make you feel better. It works on the brain. It does some stuff with those chemicals in our brain to make us feel a little better. It's hard to smile and be upset or angry or emotional or whatever when you're smiling. It's a natural drug that helps us feel better. But anyway, that greeting is very important. So smiling is pretty important too. So, all right, Jeff, yeah, you gave me a greeting a few minutes ago. Did you smile?
I think I smiled.
Think you did? Okay. All right, let's talk about this now. You said you were excited to meet me as an interviewer. So I want you to say, repeat, I'm really excited about being here.
I'm really excited about being here.
Okay, come on, show me your excitement now. Get into it.
I'm so excited to be here. I just can't wait to have this conversation.
How about the job? You excited about this job?
Yes, this job is so interesting to me. I can't wait to learn more.
How about the company?
This company is super interesting. I can't wait to find out more about it.
Are you looking forward to have this discussion with me?
I am very much looking forward to talking to you about this.
Okay. Hi, Jeff. This is Walt Glass. Welcome to ABC Company. Welcome you here to have this discussion about this opportunity today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here to talk to you and learn more about the company today. And this job.
All right. So you see a little bit of difference there. Now, he was already ahead of the game, because I'll tell you what the typical greeting is that I see. And Jeff, you certainly didn't do the typical one, so you're ahead. That is pretty much, well, thank you for taking the time to talk with me today. That's probably one of the most popular. Another one is some people will say, I am excited to be here, but there's no smile, there's no energy in it. There's nothing that shows in the facial expression that they really are excited to be here. As one person told me, he says, I have to remember when I say I'm excited to be here to get excited. I said, no, you don't do that in the middle of the interview, in the greeting. You do that before the greeting, right? And so, but is it authentic? Is it genuine? Are you truly excited? Are you really looking forward to having this conversation and talk with this person about the interview? And how do you think your interview will go if that's your mindset, as opposed to, please God, help me answer these questions, all right, on the other end of the scale? So thank you very much, Jeff, for participating. So here's what George Wright says. I look for people who are passionate about what they're doing. They're excited about their experience and how it come to play here. I'm looking for someone who has energy. All those things indicate a person who wants to get a job done. He's saying that with these particular elements, I see passion in what you're talking about. I see excited about their telling about their experience and how they had enjoyed in doing what they did in the past, and showing me how it came to play here. All right. Guess what? You see some I am, I do, and I help in that sentence. If there it is, there's the three things. They're right in there. He said, I'm looking for someone who has some energy. Then he said the value of all of that. And when they do that, so they're the people who want to get a job done. And that's how he measures that. So if you're kind of like this, then this is the value and this is the result that I'll get from you. So here's what Fred said. Now, I got an email just this past week, and I'm going to change the name, but in the email, he got some feedback from the interview, and it said, although Fred has some good industry and product experience, unfortunately felt he lacked energy, did not display a strong new business hunting attitude in comparison to others interviewed. And Joseph Story, who gave us some feedback some time ago when he got hired, said he asked the manager and the director, give me some feedback, why'd you hire me? And they said, basically, I was the only candidate that showed enthusiasm for the job. Now, let's go back to Fred. Did Fred do something wrong? You think that Fred did bad in his interview? Or did Fred have the right mindset? Was he truly energized about this job? Was he truly excited about it? Evidently, he wasn't, because he didn't display it. So maybe this is not the right job for Fred, because he didn't display that sort of thing. So I'm not looking at it as a negative and saying we ought to complain about Fred for not doing this. I'm just saying, did he choose the right job? Did he choose the right company? Is he genuinely excited? Because if he is, I think he would have displayed it. So that's in your choices. Okay. Knowledge, number 2. Knowledge is power. This is a huge differentiator. What do you know about the company? What do you know about interviewers, industry, competition, customers, talent, et cetera, et cetera? What kind of knowledge? Your research on these things is critical in the differentiation. Demonstrating knowledge. If you're changing industries, for example, do you know how to speak that language in that industry? If you're changing careers and changing from one job to another, do you understand how to talk that type of job and what the measurements are for that role? If you don't, then if you're changing careers and changing jobs or changing industries, then you got to do some more work. It takes a little bit more homework, more informational interviews, finding out what's going on, what's happening, so that you can say, yes, this is the match for me. This is what I like to do. And then you can also talk about those things and be energized about them. A person of knowledge increases positive differentiation from other candidates. So in your questions, the way you ask questions, what the things you talk about when you're talking about the interviewer themselves, you saw them on LinkedIn, they went to the same school, you bring it up, or maybe they did something and you want to bring that up and you get the interviewer talking and build a rapport and connection with the interviewer because you have some knowledge about that person. And old George, here's what he says. So what's key in that? Oh, this whole middle. What do you know about the company and the objective of the position? The objective of the position means I help you. That's the objective. Do you know how you can help in that role? Find out what the company, how the company sees that, or the interviewer. So you can address what they're looking for. So we've got this background, we've got a resume, we've got a history, we've got some stories that we can tell. Then we go into the interview, and before we go there, we want to do as much as we can find out about that. So I can say, these are the things I want to emphasize that are relevant to this company and to this job. Where do you get the knowledge? All over the place. Lots of different places you can get it. I recommend this Data Axle Reference Solutions. It used to be called Reference USA. Mike Ray and Kip Lifson run around the Zoom world on giving presentations on that particular tool. It helps you find target companies. Got parameters in it that'll say you're looking in this location, this size, this industry, that sort of thing. So what are the companies around here that do that sort of thing? It'll really help that. And so, but Google the president, Google your interviewer, go to, LinkedIn, look people up, look at their activity. What are they involved in? Find out all this kind of information. You can find a lot even on Wikipedia. Dallas Business Journal has lists, best companies to work for, etc. They have the book of lists, comes out every year, available in your library. Let me take Toyota as an example of getting you some knowledge. So here's their logo. 5 years in the making to get this logo. That represents the steering wheel. That was the T for Toyota. The spaces was the heart of the customer. So the company and technological progress overlapped by a mutually beneficial relationship. In that area was their infinite values. And so here's their list: quality, value, joy of driving, innovation, integrity, safety, environment, and social responsibility. And if you look at anything about Toyota, you'll see that they do a lot of things in the community. But by just doing some research on the logo itself, there's a message. The logo is their message to the community. And when you think of Toyota, they want you to think that they have cars of exceptional quality. So I can use that information in there. I don't have to say, really quote the logo itself. But so I know that you're trying to get this mutually beneficial relationship. I know what your values are. Do they match yours? You can speak to them, you know them, you can use an example perhaps in your background of doing something. So listening and speaking their frame of reference is number 3. You often will have your own frame of reference in an interview. You will respond from your perspective. So we kind of carry our own frame of reference around with us. Well, that's what we do. We have our cultural values. We have our personal values. We have our background experience as we grew up. We have our filters on how we see the world. Some people see it differently than we do. Almost everyone has a different set. So when you walk in, you say, gee, here's what I like, here's what I want to do. And then they're like, what they want you to say is, well, why do you want to work here? Do you know how to answer that question? So here's what George says. So we're going to point out here is that he's saying, how well did you listen to the question and how well did you respond in clear, concise terms? We have the tendency to begin answering a question before it's even finished being asked. We'll talk a little bit more about this because it's going to be one of the specials coming up. I've put it in the list just this last month. So what gives you the greatest satisfaction? Here's the answers that I hear quite frequently. And I want you to tell me which one is better, because the first one is what I hear all the time. I enjoy something. Completing project, collaboration, challenge, cross-functional teams. I like this one I like. All right. Which answer is better? I really enjoy collaborating with cross-functional teams, completing projects that increase revenue, provide customer references, leading to more sales, positively impacts our bottom line. Would you like me to provide an example of one of these? See, the first one is my frame of reference. This is what I like. The second one is not only what I like, but what I can do for you. So what gives me this greatest satisfaction? Doing both, doing these type of activities and providing value to you. Now I'm selling how I can help. There are few interviews that talk about how I can help. If they are mentioned, they're mentioned in generalities. I like to meet the company's goals and objectives. Okay, I like to increase revenue. So it's a very general thing. It's much more powerful to say, I love increasing revenue. For example, I achieved, and here's how much revenue I set in an increase. So that's a lot more powerful than just talking in the generalities. So sell, in that question, you can sell, I do and I help. At a minimum, sell, I help. I like increasing customer satisfaction. I like turning around a customer. I like having a customer become referenceable so that I can do additional sales for the sales team. I've been in services most of my life, and I'm telling you, sales is always on top of me to have customers be real happy so they can use them as references. That's their number one thing. All right, let's take it to the opening. We were talking about listening in a frame of reference. So let's move to what would we do in the opening to help in that frame of reference. To sell, I am, I do, I help. So here's what I suggest as a potential outline for the 90-second opening. I actually gave this outline once, had one of the workshop participants call me and says, hey, I did your opening and it took me 18 and a half minutes. And I said, well, I have failed miserably. I did not ever want it. So now in the handout that you get for the workshop, I'll put 90 seconds up there. If you can tell me how you got into your career in a couple of sentences, that will demonstrate to me, if you do it the right way, that you love what you do. I decided to be in accounting. I decided to be in sales. I decided something happened. A sentence or two, it's all you need, that says, this is why I became enthralled by doing this type of role, being in this type of position, right? And I enjoy it and I love it. What is your experience in soft skills? So I'm gonna mention a couple of experiences in soft skills, all relevant to the job, okay, that I've had in the past. So I've done implementations, I've done development, I've been in the IT world or something like that. And with my ability to communicate and understand business needs from a customer's perspective, I can what? I can help you achieve these things. So the value of what those experiences, soft skills. Let's go ahead and tell them why we left our last position or leaving the current position. Again, if that's a negative situation, contact Mark. I'll tell you some hints on it myself. Mark loves to specialize in coaching people when you left, when it wasn't really under great circumstances, and it was a negative thing. But let's go ahead and tell them why. But run right into, but I'm going to answer why I want to work for you. Why is this job? Why do you want this job? Why do you want to work here? I'm going to go ahead and answer those questions very briefly. Not going to tell a lot of detail, but what is it about this job that's specific? And include an I help in there, maybe an example of how you help, all right? I helped turn a customer around, saved us $35 million or whatever metric you can put on that. What is it about this company that you like? Go ahead and tell them that now. Specifically, I'm interested in this job, whatever the job title is. It's a transition statement. And then I ask a question. You want to ask a question because you want to get into the conversational interview and you want to find out what they're looking for. That's what salespeople do. If we're selling ourselves, then let's find out what they're buying. So specifically for you, I saw several things in the job description, but what would you say are the top 3 characteristics for a person to be successful in this role? That's an I am question. Who are you looking for? And, because I want you to ask both of these early on in the interview, is the I help question. Jay loves the, what can I do in the first 3 to 6 months to say I've done an outstanding job? I use that one myself. It's performance review time. What are the top 3 criteria for an excellent review? I'm looking for some specific things that I can achieve for you. Why? I can make notes of them, start talking about which one would you like to talk about first. I can give examples of having done that. So I am finding out what they're buying, and then I'm going to sell to what they're buying. That's kind of an opening all within 90 seconds. I strongly suggest that this opening statement, even though it might not be the answer directly to the first question, which is a lot of time, tell me about yourself, you give a chance to give an opening statement and then answer that question. Pausing. So I made pausing. This is the new entry. that I thought, because it's just so important. So here's what George Wright says. So when they get a question, if they didn't understand it, did they ask about it? Anytime you hesitate in saying, I'm not sure what they're asking, and you're trying to guess which one you're going to answer, don't guess. Ask for clarification. Be sure you're answering the question that they asked. Did they think about it? Called pausing. And then they answer specific to the question. So pausing is going to help that. It's important to me how well they listen, how they respond in clear, concise terms. All right, I've got 9 things that pausing is helping us be more effective in our interviews and differentiation. I'd like you to put in the chat window what you think one of the things that pausing allows us to do to be more effective and differentiate ourselves in an interview. And then we'll compare them to my list. Gathering your thoughts. Regroup before answering. Shows you're listening and thinking. Thoughtful consideration, emphasis, demonstrates your listening. To help you formulate the answer. To say the right things. Thoughtful, you're showing thoughtfulness. Frame your answer in a positive fashion. I can get the words. I have one rule in interviewing. Think before you answer. A lot of good stuff here. Gives you attention. Keeps you from talking too long. If you don't know what you're going to say, don't talk. We get into more trouble by trying to answer this question without knowing how we're going to answer it, but we feel pressure to talk. And I mentioned that earlier, so I want to push some effort on this now. So here's 9 things that I think that are impactful for us in making us more effective. First of all, we're being polite, all right? We are listening to them. If we have some emotional response to this, that's a trigger that could be against us, it stops us from showing that emotion. We take a breath. That breath relaxes us. It settles our emotions down. I've heard questions that I'm thinking in my mind, well, that's the most stupid question I've ever heard. Okay. And I have a reaction to it. Well, that's not the way I want to react. That's not the way I want to have in my mindset when I answer the question, because it's going to show that way. Gives us time to think. That was a very popular answer in there. So we need to think about our response and can ensure that we understand what the question is. I suggest that one of the techniques to use is when people ask you a question, that you mentally repeat the question in your mind. And the reason I suggest doing that technique is it forces you to listen to the whole question. One interviewer was asked, one candidate was asked, what do you know about Microsoft Azure? Started answering the question before it was finished and answered, what did you like about Microsoft? Never heard the word Azure, which is a platform like iOS is in your phone. We become a better listener. We can't think and talk at the same time. We think we can, we try to, but it really interferes with our thinking if we're talking. And if we can't think clearly while we're talking, then it can really be a mess. It can get you all the way down. I've seen it where people say, what was the question again? I mean, I got lost. I've been thinking so much and now I was talking and I got more attention on my talking and less on my thinking and I lost the question. So it makes us more effective in listening. Thoughtful and confident. Now there was a couple people talked about being thoughtful, but it also is confident. We're displaying confidence as we think about an answer, and allows short answers without being rude or abrupt. So if I just jump out there with a short answer, sometimes it is a little bit abrupt. So let me think about it and then give this clear, maybe it is a short answer, but it comes across a lot easier and a lot more thoughtful. And we actually compliment the interviewer when we pause. That says, you asked a question that I need to think about and consider the answer. they say that, that's a good question. That's what we're saying. We don't have to say that's a good question. It is. But they're getting the impression that us thinking about that puts value on the fact that they asked that question. And then number 9 is, suppose it's a tough question. Well, if you've been pausing on other questions, when you get to the tough one, it doesn't appear to stand out as it's a difficult one for you to answer. Jeff, we can see the career tip of the week on that one, can we not? I believe that's in there. He's nodding his head.
Yes, it is. Yes, it's
Yep.
This week is be sure to pause.
Here to pause. There was an interview. He says if people don't pause, that person doesn't hire them, and it's a showstopper for that person. All right, conversational interviewing. We have to ask questions to have a conversation. That's the only way I know to do it. If you got another way, let me know. I'll be glad to incorporate it. But a fool doesn't delight in understanding, but only in revealing his own mind. It's like going in and say, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to sell this. I'm going to do that. And I'm not really paying much attention to the interviewer's frame of reference. I'm not finding out what they really are looking for, what they're buying. I'm just here trying to sell this. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to show them what I offer them. And it may not be relevant. It may be, I don't know, but I'm just going to go in like a bull in a china shop, charge through and show you all that I can do. You asked me to take me through your resume, and it takes me 21 minutes to go through everything in my resume. Now, what interviewer would you, as an interviewer, want to hear a person go through all the details in their resume like that? Not so. All right. We don't have Wi-Fi here. So talk to each other, right? The key word is each other, talking to each other. So we create conversations when we ask questions. So what's a good mix of discussion in an interview? And so here's my recommendation. 70% of the time we're talking, all right? And then they talk 40% of the time. Oh, wait a minute, 30% of the time. So we do about 30% of the time when we talk. And that's kind of a general rule so that we're not taking over the interview and controlling the interview. The traditional model says, look, I'm going to ask you some questions, you answer the questions, and then we hope that they choose us and that they are responsible for the outcome. A better model is the strategic model, where they have needs, which we want to find out. We have skills illustrated by accomplishments. We have skills, hard skills that we can demonstrate, and soft skills that we can demonstrate. And we have a discussion about meeting those needs. We both ask each other questions. We both answer questions. So we walk into the interview saying, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. I'm going to find out what you're buying. I'm going to sell. I am, I do, I help. And we're going to find out if that's a match. That's a successful interview. If it's not a match, it's still a successful interview because that's not the place to be. But we are responsible. It's not, hit and hope. It's just not, post and hope, apply and hope. That sort of thing is not the best method to use. Certainly you want to do some of that, but you certainly don't want to spend a lot of time doing it, maybe 10, 15% of your time in off hours. But nonetheless, that strategic interview model gets us talking and having this conversation. We have topics on building rapport, making a connection, establishing the chemistry with the interviewer, all these things. This is the tool to help you do that. Having this discussion and talking about things back and forth will help do that. So conversational interviews, keep calm and ask questions. And here's what George says. We're going to be graded by our questions. I'm going to judge you by your insightfulness, and I'm going to learn what's important to you. I ask at the end of the interviews, since we're not able to really answer questions in the workshop interviews, to list a few questions that you would ask in an interview. And sometimes I'll hear this, do you have any training? What do you do to help me get on board? Okay, it's all in that person's frame of reference. And what is the interviewer thinking? As an interviewer, what are you thinking? Wait a minute, I don't hire you to train you. What are my opportunities for a growth path? Okay, all the stuff that I'm looking for. I'm a lot more interested from the interviewer's perspective of what you can do for me and what I'm looking for you to do and achieve. All right. So those kinds of questions are going to be better than the me questions and the I questions, those kind. So what are we showing that's important to them? So a word about questions. They prepare a list of questions for us in an interview to determine if they want to hire us. Why don't we prepare a list of questions to find out about them so that we can determine if we want to work there? Have we got that prioritized list of questions so that we can find out the answers to that to know whether we want to work? So we have to prepare a prioritized list pertaining to the interviewer. That means a slightly different list if I'm talking to the CFO, a little bit different if I'm talking to operations, a little bit different if I'm talking to a team, a little bit different if I'm talking to HR, a little bit different if I'm talking to the hiring manager. Some may be common questions, but I would tell you, if you're going through a series of interviews and you ask the same questions at every interview, they're going to point that out. They'll say, oh yeah, I got that question too. You know, you asked the same questions or she asked the same questions. So you want to have some different ones depending on who your interviewer is. A lot of research and homework now to figure out what those questions are. Don't wait until the end. Please don't do that. The interview is over. You don't, what are you going to find out? Are you going to have a conversation, a discussion about the answers to your questions at the end? Well, certainly I think you ought to have a few questions at the end, but they certainly aren't the ones that are saying we get to talk about it and I can demonstrate and tell you stories about it. I suggest what I call the 50-50 mix of questions. Generic questions are those like, tell me about the culture, tell me about the company's values, tell me about, just generic things. Now, the non-generic things is where I lead in with knowledge. So I saw online where the CEO was saying that no longer was customer satisfaction the number one value, that it was safety. Tell me what's going on with safety, right? So I show that I have done research. I know something, I found something out. I really stress that for people with public companies that you do two things. One, listen to their quarterly earnings reports. They're usually found through the news or whatever they have on their website to get you to their feed. And you'll have a recording. You'll have the CEO, maybe the CFO, and they'll talk about things that are going on and what they're trying to do. And so when I was listening to the recording and this came up, and so can you tell me more about that? Or Section 5 of the 10K. I know that some of you know that there's a 10K out there, but it's not just for financial people. Section 5 is management discussion and analysis, and it's right with what's going on, what's happening, what they're looking for in the company. Great information to find just from those sources alone. But do your research. You want to do the same type of research for your interviewer. Find out information. Work hard to find out who your interviewer is and what their role is, and research that person. If you can find them on LinkedIn. I know that sometimes you might not know who it might be, but you can go into LinkedIn and say HR and Toyota, and it'll bring up people in Toyota that are in HR. So you can say, maybe it's one of these people or whatever. But you can work to try to find out who your interview is, and don't let that slide by. Work hard to get that information. You deserve to know who's going to be interviewing you. Now you want to find something in common. The biggest powerful thing you can find is something in common between them and you to help establish that connection. All right, if you search 200 questions job candidates may ask your company, you'll come up with a PDF document. It's kind of an interesting one. You can always do a lot of searching and lots of questions out there on questions you can ask. This is written to the interviewers. It's written to HR, written to the hiring manager, say be prepared to answer questions from candidates. It's a little bit different format. It's kind of an interesting one. It's out there several places. You might find it in Workforce. You might find it in some .edu that's been posted from a particular university. Experience and value relevant to the job, number 7. What you've done with your experience is greater than just the experience itself. So if I'm talking about what I've done in the past and say, well, I've led implementations, I've developed things, I did. But if you could add to that, and through implementations, I have achieved what? customer satisfaction, referenceable customers, referenceable accounts, turn the customer around, whatever it could be in there with that experience. So when I'll talk about the experience, what's the value of it? And I've used star stories to do that, right? If you come to the workshop, I'll tell you what my impression is on dealing with overqualified. And I even addressed it some in the opening statement, little teaser to get you to start. I got one slot open for next Tuesday, so I would first come, first serve. Somebody sign up. We have a lot of fun. It's very informal. So most of you heard about star stories. So there's SARS, there's CARS, there's stars, these kind of things. All of them are okay. I like stars because of the S. Most people don't really fully understand what the S is. And it's simply the context by saying, when I was in this role, if I have what your position is, it gives me context of your authority and responsibility, whether you're a team member or a team lead or whatever. Then the task. So you use a short sentence for what I was or when I was at this title of this company. And the task, the problem, or the challenge was. And so this is one sentence. You should get this down into one simple sentence. All right. Does not take a lot. And I can tell you in one sentence or two, the situation in the task. When I was the account relationship manager, I had one of my CIOs, a customer, accuse me of bait and switch. That's one sentence. You already know what the task is. You always know what the challenge is by me telling you that sentence. So just write them down and put them in this order and take away the stuff that just doesn't add any value. Here's the meat. So what I did was, I'd like to know at a high level how you process, how you think, who you involve, that kind of thing. And as a result, and that could come out in one sentence, even though it may have 2 or 3 different values: turn the customer around, increased revenue, may have done 3 things, but still could be, in one sentence. And use metrics. Dollars are the best. Work to figure out and estimate the dollar value of what your impact was to the company. Not everyone will know exactly what that number is, but if you brought a project in 2 weeks ahead of time and there was 18 people on the project and they averaged $75,000 a year and blah, 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 and I saved $60,000. All right. So I did it 2 weeks early. That's one result. And I saved $50,000, which is another result. All right. As an example. Soft skills relevant to the job. Number 8. I say that the soft skills are the overpowering skill of the 3. If I don't like you, I'm not going to hire you. I don't care that you can do it. I don't care that you can really help me out and do a lot of things. But if I don't like you, if I don't see the personality fit, I don't see the culture fit, I don't see that the skills match and what we're looking for, I'm not going to hire you. So these are very important. So Princeton University, now we're going to go back to that little poll that I gave you. I said we'd come to it later. People make judgments about such things as trustworthiness, competence, likability within a fraction of a second. A fraction of a second. No one put down less than 1 second. Participants judge trustworthiness the quickest. 1/10 of a second. Now that is pretty fast, all right? It's not cognizant. We don't think about it. We are judging people. We make these decisions very, very quickly. So how we appear, how we are dressed on Zoom, our background in Zoom, our smiling, our interest in the energy, enthusiasm, it shows up before we ever speak a word, all right? What's that impression like? We have to do a little extra work with Zoom to make sure that our backgrounds are not distractions, all right? You don't want an overhead fan or a ceiling fan spinning in the background or something moving. You want to have your cat walk across in front of you, or as one person absolutely embarrassed to find out that his wife walked behind him nude. And so all the people on the interview were smiling and laughing, and he didn't know what they were laughing at. So judge worthy the quickest within 1/10 of a second. Then in 3 seconds, we're kind of done. We've got more complete conclusion. The unfortunate thing is that it can be wrong. It can be very wrong. I used to know a person, I looked at and I said, she's not very attractive. I got to know her and I thought she was beautiful, all right? Her personality enhanced what I saw in her. And I saw more than just a physical appearance and a physical situation. So that kind of thing comes across. So we got to be genuine, got to be authentic, but we got to pay attention to what we look. So that greeting is very important. So I did a little research on soft skills. And so you got to have strong interpersonal skills. So I see that on a lot of job descriptions. They don't list them, they just say interpersonal one. So here's 86 of them. So I wonder which ones are important to them. So as I looked at this list, I said, okay, how about emotional? How about literate? How about political? Quirky, quixotic, racy, rebellious? I think those didn't fit too well. So when you look at the list, but here's a nice list of things you might look at and say, which ones are me? Take some of the tests that you can take. There's a whole bunch of things or assessments you can take. Probably some of you have already taken 2 or 3 of them. You know whether you're an INTJ or whatever that means, you tell people that and they say, what the heck does that mean? Or whatever it might be. So here's what George says. So here's the meaningful part of that. If their communication style or personality do not mesh, you run into problems. All right. This is a showstopper. Well, it may not mesh. It may not be the right thing. You might not have the right personality for this particular role. And that's not bad. If you find it out, at least you find it out now. But I suggest that we really find out what is the culture of the organization before the interview. Why don't we discover what that is? Why don't we research, look it up, talk to people in the company, whatever, to find out what it's really like? Because there's no need to go interview with a company where the culture is not going to match. I've heard of several people who said, well, I can take this job, I can do it. It's not really the one I want. It's not really the company I want. And then this person quit after 8 weeks saying, it's toxic culture. I just couldn't take working there. So, well, you probably could have found that out pretty easily before you ever got into that interview. So look at that. What are those soft skills and how does that really fit into the organization? Then what do those soft skills do in the value? So you heard me talk about this before. So I'm good at collaboration and communication. I can talk up and down different levels of the organization. I like working with cross-functional teams and all that kind of stuff. And so what? So does every other candidate. They can all do that too. Just about every job description, unless it's an engineer, has communication and a bunch of soft skills listed as one of the things you have to have. So I'm just excited to let you know that the whole world are excellent communicators. They're looking for excellent communicators. They consider themselves excellent communicators. But we're going to demonstrate our communication skills in the interview. Pausing and thinking and then delivering a clear, concise answer is a huge factor in excellent communication skills. That means that's how you apply it in your role in dealing with other people. You do it the same way. You do it here, you'll do it there. If you talk without thinking here, when you're talking to a customer, you're going to talk to them without thinking. It's a negative. So what's the value of those skills? Little time out. I did my Clifton Strengths, used to be Strengths Finders. Belief, positivity, responsibility, arrangement, communication. So this kind of, I put this in a BPRAC because I am a very practical person. There are no assessments that I've seen that says you're practical, but I am. One of the most significant things about me is very practical. If you use it a lot, you get your big bang for your buck out of that. Those are the things that attract me and attention me. And that's what I look for in a job, and the activities that I do are getting a great return from doing this particular activity. So I looked at responsibility. That's me. So just a short timeout on Clifton Strengths themes. These themes are interesting words. Can anybody tell me, or be willing to tell me, or feel like they can identify what individualization means? Anybody have that? What do you think it means? When you see the word individualization, does that sound like you are a independent worker? You kind of do your own thing. you might work with teams, but you kind of like better working by yourself. Is that what that really means? I mean, when I read it, I kind of said, what the heck does that mean, individual? So I pay attention. Well, it's actually the opposite. I'm really intrigued by the unique qualities of other people. Well, when I look at the word individualization, that definition doesn't come across to me. I would not use that word in an interview. I would not use it, but I would say I really like meeting other people, and I'm intrigued by how each person is unique and how they can offer different things. So I would speak to it, but I would use those terms. So just a word, woo is popular. Everybody, so that's winning others over. I said, well, what does that mean? It means you're a good salesperson? No. You are likable. People like you very easily. I'd rather say that than say I'm a woo. Anyway, let's move on. Number 9, what can we do for them? Well, John F. Kennedy. I remember I was in the math building at Florida State University going down the hall when I found out that he had been shot in Dallas. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. So I'm not going to ask them what kind of training, what could they do for me in an interview. I'm not going to say, I'm excited about this opportunity because I can learn new things. I can learn new things. I can move forward in my career. I can put another notch. I can do this. I can do that. Well, I don't care, right? No, I can help you do what? So how can I help you today? What can we do for them? All right, let's go to the closing, number 10, which is probably one of the things that I see the least in practice interviews out of the multiple interviews that I've had with candidates. Closing the sale is probably not even done at all. Thank you for the time for talking with me today. I look forward to hearing from you soon. And that's the most frequent, often close that I've heard, that I hear. And it's also the worst. We don't close a sale that way. No salesman will say, well, it's great been talking with you. I know you like several vehicles here in the dealership. And so I look forward to hearing from you soon. Let me know and what's your next step. Okay. We do get a few next steps in there once in a while. Some people have that one. But here's my suggestion for closing, showing interest. I'm really excited about this job and everything we've talked about. I was excited when we started. Now that I found out more about it, this one looks like it just fits me too. I can't wait to get started. All right. I'm going to summarize. Today, we've talked about you need a person who can help you do these things. And I'm going to summarize and tell you 2 or 3 things that I can help you do. So I'm going to just remind them, this is why you want to hire me, because I can help you achieve these things. I'm going to summarize that. I'd like to find out where I stand. Can you see me fitting into this role? Do you see me being successful in this position? You can ask negatively, is there anything that would prevent me from being successful in this role? If we can find something out, then maybe we can address that, see if we can't resolve that particular negative and turn it around. And the process for hiring, update it as you go along, but know everything you need to know about what happens for you to get on board. The timing, the decision makers, the people in the interviews. So when the interview is scheduled, who am I going to be speaking with? Who will be my interviewer or interviewers? When's their projected decision date? When's their projected start date? Just find out everything that you can. You deserve to know that. There's nothing wrong in asking for that information. That helps you understand when to get back in touch, how to help, but we'll go to the next step. So who do I hear from next? Okay, Jeff, thank you. I'll be hearing from you. When should I hear from you? And if I don't hear from you by that day, Jeff, can I call you on the next business day? People often ask, when should I contact them after the interview? And the answer is, find out. Just go ahead and ask them. So, when will I hear back? It's always on their agenda. So you're asking them that, and then you say, okay. And then when you don't get them, you leave a message, you give them a compliment, you talk about something interesting in the thing. You don't just ask for status. If you're an interviewer, how much time do you have to follow up with the 8 candidates and tell them the status of the process? 0. Doesn't work. So you be different in that. And then set another date at the end of that, if I don't use by this date. And after about 5 or 6 of those, you say, this is the last time I'm going to contact you. I'm still interested in this position. Would like to hear from you. You often will get a response from that, particularly, I mean, if it's still in process. And then the farewell. You can repeat your opening statement. I'm really excited about this role and job. I really think I can make a contribution to the team. I would like working here. All right. Those kind of things will help be very positive ending, and you smile and you leave with the same energy and enthusiasm. So here they are. Here's the 10 things. Positive attitude, enthusiasm, interest, knowledge, their frame of reference, your opening statement, the questions that you ask, pausing so you can think, clear your mind, concise, clear answer. They'll ask for more if they want to know more details. Giving your experience and staying with Star Stories to demonstrate that you've actually done it and the value that you bring, your soft skills, and how you can help them. Finally, the close.
Mrs. Carruthers, welcome.
Thank you.
Come on in, have a
Thanks for having
seat.
me.
Of course. I have been looking over your resume, and I have to say I am very impressed.
Oh, thank you.
You know, actually, I think, to be honest, you are overqualified to be an accountant.
Oh, well, that's okay. I don't intend to work very hard.
Really?
Absolutely. In fact, I only intend to show up when I feel like it, which is good because I have a wide variety of extremely annoying personal habits and absolutely no sense of hygiene.
Oh. You know, then I don't feel like you're then the correct person for this position.
That's okay. I quit.
You can't quit. You don't work here.
Like I would ever work here.
Like we would ever hire you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And even if you did work here, I would even give you the opportunity to quit because I would fire you.
Well, you can't fire me because I don't work here.
That's right. You don't, and I would can your ass so quick.
Prove it.
Okay. You've got the job.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And now it is my pleasure to inform you that
I quit.
you can't quit. I fired you.
No, it's too late. I don't work here anymore.
Fine, let's try this again. You've got the job and now you're fired.
No, you offered me the job, but I never accepted. Look, I've already worked for you. It's very tedious. And now you want me back. I think it's a regressive career move.
Okay, what can we do to get you to come work for us?
A raise.
A raise.
$200 an hour.
$200 an hour. Okay, prorated to the 10 seconds you're gonna be working here, so 12 cents?
And this time I promise I won't quit.
You promise you won't quit. You promise you'll let me fire you.
If you still want to.
Oh, I'm sure I'm going to want to. So we have a deal?
Not yet. I've already been an accountant here. I feel like I've outgrown the position. I want something higher. How about junior vice president?
Junior vice president. $200 an hour or 12 cents, whichever comes first, and you promise not to quit before I have the opportunity to fire you.
That's correct.
Great. We've got the job.
I accept.
Great. Now you're fired.
Oh, you can't fire me. I'm junior vice president. I'm your boss.
Well, that doesn't make sense.
And as your boss, I regret that I have to fire you.
Why are you firing me?
Well, I can't help but notice as head of personnel, you've been hiring some very strange people lately at $200 an hour for me.
What am I supposed to do without a job?
Well, we do have a new position opening up in head of personnel. Do you have any experience?
Practice, absolutely. Every practice you get better. Pit crew is available. Contact Mark, the Dallas Pit Crew at gmail.com to get on the schedule. You can contact me to get on the list for registration for a very informal and fun workshop on improving our skills. Any questions?
If anybody has a question, you're welcome to unmute your mic. Ask away.
Dale Bruning, my goodness. Hello. A person from the past.
So I posted up that file that Walt mentioned, the 200 question file. So if you just want to download it from the chat window, you can do that right away.
Good AI, Mark. Thank you.
Yes, Michelle, go ahead. You want to unmute your mic?
As of the 15th, will I still be getting invites for the group to come in to join this?
As long as you're part of one of the Yahoo groups, you'll need to, if you're part of the Friday group, I've been sending out invitations for people to join that group. If you're part of another Yahoo group, or if you're part of another Google group or something, I haven't found all those groups yet, so you probably will not find, you will not get my daily emails that I'm sending out, but I am putting them on LinkedIn, I am putting them on Facebook. And like I said, if you're part of the Friday North Dallas group, you will be getting those emails. So if you're part of a Yahoo groups go away as of December 15th, next Tuesday. So hopefully you've joined another group by then, or groups. Anybody else? Any other questions for Walt? Well, I guess not. Everybody's being very quiet here. Well, Walt, thank you very, very much for your presentation. Great information. For those people who want some other training that we've got going on this Thursday at 1 o'clock, we'll be doing our effective resume class. This Thursday, the topic is going to be 10 resume tips you haven't heard before. And then this Friday at the North Dallas Plano Focus Group at 9:30 in the morning, our speaker is going to talk about tracking network leads with Excel. So if you've sort of got a notepad of contacts, you're not sure how to start out a spreadsheet to build all this information, the speaker is an Excel trainer, and we'll go through how to build a spreadsheet to track your network leads. Then next Tuesday, our LinkedIn presentation at 1 o'clock is with Locke Alderson. It'll be how to use LinkedIn for job hunting, strategies to get results. And then next Wednesday, the 16th, the 10 biggest mistakes that people make while interviewing with Tony Bashera. Tony runs Babbage and Associates, and he is going to talk. He'll be our last speaker in our special guest interview speaker series, joining us. After that, there is no sessions the week of Christmas or New Year's, no LinkedIn, no interviewing, no resume sessions, no North Dallas group. We're taking the 2 weeks off. And then we will restart the 13-part interview workshop with Walt and Mark. We'll start again on January 6th. So just keep an eye out for that. But we will start back up at 1 o'clock on January 6th. So this session has been recorded. It'll be on the Career FW Facebook page, and it will be on the Career USA YouTube channel later this afternoon. Please follow us on Facebook. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. That way you'll find out all the latest program that we've got going on. This is program number 161 that we've done since COVID got started. So there's a lot of stuff up on the YouTube channel and Facebook for people to view. If you go to the YouTube channel, it's the Career USA YouTube channel. The playlist should come up first, top of the list. Don't click on the video, but click down where you see that red arrow and it says view full playlist. Because when you do that, up will come a list of all the different events, and you'll be able to go and pick and choose whichever one you'd like to view. And you'll be able to view this one over and over and over again at your convenience. So please note, Career FW is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Walt's a volunteer, Mark's a volunteer, I'm a volunteer. I don't get paid to do this. We're all here to help you land and get your next great opportunity. Career DFW survives on donations. Please consider when you do land your next job, please consider making a donation. If your company happens to offer matching donations, please look us up, allow your donation to double in value. If you don't see our name listed, please let me know and I will get our name added. So thank you for joining us today. Hopefully we'll see you later this week or next week. So have a great week. Walt, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for letting me join the group today.